Hi, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about vintage spincast reels, mainly buying vintage spincast reels online. This can be for in person too, but it's mostly online. Some things to look out for when you're buying a reel from somewhere like eBay, which is where I buy most of my reels. So, first thing we're going to talk about, well, first of all, this is a Johnson Century 100B. These are pretty common, pretty easy to find. But I'm going to give you a few things to look for with this reel, and this applies to any reel, really. First of all, how it looks. It's this one, the lettering is still showing here. Looks pretty clean. Handle's good shape. The push button is still pretty white. The writing is still good. The foot's good. So looking at this reel right now, the only thing you probably, I don't even know if you can tell this on camera or not, but I can tell that the paint is really faded. So instead of a really dark green, it's pretty dull. It's almost starting to turn black or dark gray or something. So this reel's in pretty good condition. So here's a few things to look for, say, when you're buying this reel or any reel. Missing parts. So I see a lot of reels on eBay for sale missing the front cover. So it's pretty much like this. It'll say in the description, sometimes it says it's missing, sometimes it doesn't. It says in really good condition, works perfect. Well, you can't use a reel without that. If that's not there, there's no point in buying this reel. Unless you're going to use it for parts or have another one that you're going to take parts from this one. So that's one thing to look for. Another thing is the reel foot. This one is metal. This usually breaks a lot, depending what kind of condition it's in. If this is broken, say it's broken right here, don't buy it. If that's just a little chip taken out of it, that's not a big deal. But you know, if half of this seat, the reel seat, is broken, don't buy the reel. I seen one the other day on there for sale, a Shakespeare, and the whole reel seat was missing. It was broken off. It was plastic anyway. So the whole thing was broken off, and you literally can't use it. I mean, it's just for parts. So I wouldn't buy that. Here's a few more things to look for. Sometimes there's a rubber stopper on here, like a line. It's like a line stopper for when you cast. You hold the button in, it pinches against the inside here. Some have it, some don't. If you're not sure, just look at pictures of different reels. Try to figure out if this actually had it or not. This one didn't have it. This one always just had this nut. Okay, so we'll just move on to another reel here. Okay, this one is a Shimano. This one is really good condition. Nothing seems to be broken on it. So another thing to look out for is saltwater corrosion. I know it's tough on some certain kind of reels to tell if they're using salt water. This one has a black handle. But if it had a silver handle and you see all kinds of rust on here, or greening or whatever, don't buy it. That means it was used in salt water and wasn't properly rinsed off. Sometimes you see salt water rust around the spool cover, around any of the screws. It's a big no-no. Don't buy it. Probably still work, but if you see any screws that have rust, I'd probably advise not to buy it. Sometimes you see on this handle, like I seen one there one day that had this handle is just like pressed on there, this handle knob right here. If you've seen one that had like a big screw or nut sticking out of it, you know, it's probably not original. So that's another thing to look out for. And just look at this dial now, and this one This one's in really good shape. Yeah, what else you can look for? You can look at the labels and the lettering and the stickers and decals. This one has all the decals. You got in Daiwa, usually there's a little plastic cap here. It's not important, but it's nice to have it. You see the information written on the spool. It's pretty much all complete. Depending on how much it's used, it wears off quite a bit. Sometimes it's worn completely. Look at the general condition and paint job and make sure. Look at the screws. See the screws are not all messed up. See, these look like they're original. Sometimes you might see one that's just out of shape, looks bigger than the rest. Or maybe you got one that's rusty and three that aren't, or whatever. Just look for that. If you're not sure, you see this one has rubber, I'm not sure if it's rubber or hard, I think it's just hard plastic. But if you've seen one of these and you weren't sure that, say that was missing, and you kind of need it for this reel, and you don't know if it's supposed to be there or not, just search for a schematic. It's just a burst diagram. You could tell if that was actually there or not. So that's good. You want to talk about brands, rarity afterwards. Like I said before, there's tons and tons and tons of these Johnsons out here. So if you bought one, you're pretty sure you're going to find parts for it. This one is not very plentiful, but they are out there. These are out there for sure. So this is an Air XL Dorado. This one is from their late 50s, early 60s. These are extremely rare. So if you had one of these, if you're going to buy one of these to use, just keep in mind that you're probably never going to find parts for it. So what you got is what you got, basically. So hopefully you find one in really good condition. And usually if you happen to find one of these in the box, that usually means it's taken care of. It's a better chance that it's been well looked after and in better condition. Usually with the box, not always. What else? Yeah, let's talk about brands. Like, Johnsons are pretty good reels. They're pretty old, but they work really well. There's a lot of different models. Shimano didn't make a lot of spincast reels, but the few they have are really good. Eric's made a couple. Good luck trying to find them. Daiwa made a lot. Different reels. These gold casts are pretty much the same thing as they were. Well, they still make them today. This one's probably almost 40 years old, but at least 30 years old. But the ones they make today, they're just made of graphite instead of metal. They're all the same. Not much difference. Another thing is to look at the seller, who's selling the reel. Maybe it's a person that just sells fishing reels, and you can probably have a better idea of what the condition is and functionality. But if it's a person, say, just selling clothes, and they happen to have one reel and you don't know anything about it, you're not really going to get much information from them about the reel. So next we're going to talk about brands. Well, I guess we did, but we're going to talk about brands to avoid. So this is not an old reel by any means, but this is just an example. The South Bend reel. This is kind of one of these brands that you should avoid. Well, this is one of the older ones that are all metal. Anything that's plastic like this, it's not even graphite, it's just plain plastic. See, the label is gone, just feels cheap. Something to avoid. And yeah, like anything like fairly modern, like South Bend, Shakespeare, even a lot of Zebcos, like unless it's an old 33 or an Omega, like an Omega 33 or an Omega, a few more different Omega ones. I wouldn't buy it. Like I wouldn't buy like a 202 or 404 or any other modern plastic ones. They're really not very good quality. Same thing with same thing with Shakespeare and like some of the older Johnson ones when they moved from metal to plastic. Some are good, some are really not good at all. Anything no name, things you never heard of, basically stuff like this, it's just garbage really. And that's pretty much it. So I hope this helps. You know, if you stick to good brands, good condition, you should be fine. Find something that parts are available for, and just avoid this cheap crap like this. Okay, I guess that's pretty much for the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.